Hey everybody, it's Thunder in the spirit of Geronimo and Crazy Horse coming from the Sundowner Ranch in Sandy Valley, Nevada. Thinking a lot about Crazy Horse lately because there's been some posts on Campfire Council about it. A bunch of people put their, well, not a bunch of people, some people tried to put up pictures and say they were Crazy Horse. Crazy Horse never had his picture taken. Never. There is no photos of Crazy Horse, only sketches. Unlike Geronimo, who has all kinds of pictures, verified and authenticated. But I got to thinking about Crazy Horse again and Geronimo, and I always say those are my patron saints, my two favorite tribal people, warriors. I've done videos on them before, pointing out that both were the supreme warrior, but it was almost like yin and yang. Geronimo was more hardcore, had a harder attitude, I believe. A more bitter attitude because of his family being massacred. Whereas Crazy Horse kind of was the kind of guy that went up in the hills for months and sought visions and had visions. But if you ever wanted to put into practice anything that could benefit you, it would be to look at the life of these two people. Look at the life of Crazy Horse, look at the life of Geronimo. Geronimo, let's face it, was the head of a group of people that were the supreme guerrilla fighters. They fought in a fashion, guerrilla style. They still teach techniques from Apache knife fighting to the special forces. So they knew their shit. And everybody should know their shit. Everybody should study the lives of these two people. You read all the time about legendary people, some of them fictional, like Atlas and all these legends, Thor, the god of thunder, and just maybe different warriors in different time periods. But with Crazy Horse and with Geronimo that these people were the real deal. These people were not fiction. They were not some kind of legend made up. Everything that they did that was phenomenal, actually they did. Okay, and they had special powers. Both were medicine men and tuned into the much higher frequencies. And they wwere phenomenal warriors and they were phenomenal leaders. So you have real leaders and real people, not people of legend so far back that you don't even know if they're real. These people were real. And so it's cool, to know this, and it's what's really nice too is that there's no photos of Crazy Horse kind of, for me, is a thing that I really don't want. I hope nobody finds a photo. To this point they haven't, but because it lends a mystique to Crazy Horse, almost like that of a saint or prophet to me. So I don't really believe that he was meant to have his picture taken, almost like Yeshua or Buddha or any great holy man or spiritual man that walked the face of this earth. And there's a whole lot that we can learn from Crazy Horse and Geronimo as far as warfare and strategy and tactics and mindset and worldview of life and just everything. But let me emphasize that these people were spiritual people and they had visions and they were definitely tapped into that spirit that moves in all things, or the enlightenment, the enlightened side, special powers, okay? Special powers, and so was Sitting Bull, actually. I kind of went into town, not town, I went into the local bar today in Sandy Valley, and I didn't really drink. I just sat there and had a cup of coffee, and my sister drank, though. And met some of the locals, some more of the locals here, and met a guy named Chief that owns the bar here, Idle Spur, and he's Kickapoo. So him and I hit it off real good. Just people are starting to know that thunder is in Sandy Valley, which I think is a good thing. I'm finding that the consciousness here, I love it, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere near shamanistic levels. But and people, tend to be a little bit on the naive side. But it's I'd rather have that. They're all good people, and I know them all now by their first names. See, it's that kind of town. It's not a town. It's a valley, and there's one store and a little, can't even call it a mall. The closest thing to a mall, it's got about 3 stores in it, 4 stores. A pizza place, restaurant, and a thrift store, clothing store, and a post office, of course. And that's it. I think there's one little empty store there. And then right down the street, about a half a block away, you got Trails End. Okay. I love it. Trails End, which is a painting that I've always loved, which is a famous painting of an Indian warrior or brave sitting on his horse with his head down. You've all seen it. And the lance by his side like he's tired. He had a hard day fighting. Of course, it could be a metaphor for a lot of things. And so, like I said, the little shopping center, it's not a mall, it's a little shopping center with 3 stores. First you have the bar, okay, then you go down about 3, 4, 5 blocks, or should I say fields, because there's no houses there. It's just like a classic 2-lane with asphalt repair street, with fence posts and fences and old, some of the properties have old, dilapidated, broken down houses and sheds, and you get to the stores, the little shopping center, and then with the pizza place, and it's actually not a pizza place; it's a combined. Then as you go, it's about let's say a block further, so. I walked today, as my sister was taking care of business in the little shopping center, I walked over to the store, the Trails End store, which also has a thrift store next to it. And they've set up a little pizza place in the back of the Trails End store. It's almost like the store in my novel Emergence, okay? Called Jack's Store, okay. But as I was walking up, and it was a brisk day, and the clouds were out in the desert, and it was really kind of cold. And I'm walking up, and just like I am now, except with my Levi jacket on, and I'm looking at the store, and I'm going, this is heavy deja vu, because Trails End. I mean, come on, it's. It was my favorite, it is one of my favorite paintings, and the store reminded me of Jack's store, and it's like, well, here thunder is in the desert, reliving things. And as I got to the Trails End store, I stood outside and did a little tobacco offering. Took a few puffs, did a little tobacco offering outside the store to grandfather and grandmother and the spirit of the four directions. And just as I finished, the hawks appeared. First there was one, and people were standing out there, the store owner and my sister and everybody, and I go, oh, there's the first one. They looked at me like, what? And then there was another one. I said, look, there's another one. And they were all like, people were looking up. And then I said, there's the third one, and there's the fourth one. Spirit of the four directions. This happens to me more than you would believe, and people are always astounded. And they came right over and kind of circled near. And then I said, I thanked them for coming by, and then they kind of flew a little circular pattern and took off. Okay, carried my prayers to grandfather. But there were four altogether, and four is a sacred number in the tribal tradition. And again, I've had this happen to me and it was just a good day. It was a good day because after that I went to the bar and met a bunch of people and just kind of did a little what they call networking. Okay. So that's kind of where, that's kind of like how my life was today. And I'm really enjoying the fact that there are places that are still left, there are no rules, there are no regulations. Take, for instance, the bar. You can do anything you want in there, smoke. It's not like in town when, you go into these politically correct places and it's the bar, because it's in Nevada, is 24/7. So they have some slots in there, 2 pool tables. The Idle Spur. And the people are all down home folk, okay? Cowboys, the working man. And the mode of attire is, Pendletons, cowboy boots, Levi's, cowboy hats, bandanas. Feel right at home here. So that's the name of that tune. What else did I want to cover today? I wanted to cover something else, and it's slipping my mind now, but I don't know. Mushin. Mushin. Lately I've been thinking a lot because I am the Native American Taoist. I believe in Taoist philosophy as well as Native American spirituality, which kind of permeates the Campfire Council, hopefully. Everybody's welcome there, though. I mean, we got Christians in there even. They hang with us. Anyway, Mushin, mind like water. Mushin, I've been into the martial arts for many, many years, and I teach both hardcore, brutal style Kung Fu Sansu and the SCAR system taught to Navy SEALs. And then I also teach Tai Chi. And then I'm into the code of Bushido, which is Japanese. And anyway, so in the Japanese art of Aikido or Aikido, there's a term there's a term Mushin, M-U-S-H-I-N, Mushin. And Mushin means, just to put it in real simple terms, and I did a post on this, Mushin means that, mind like water or mind like still water, okay? And the best way to describe it is if you have a pond or a lake in the moonlight, and it's still, it's going to reflect the moon perfectly, and it's going to reflect all the landscape. There's no turbulence or wind or anything. it's going to reflect everything like it is. Okay, it's going to be a carbon copy. But if you got wind comes up and starts blowing ripples across the lake or pond, what happens? Well, the picture becomes distorted. It becomes distorted. And that's how our mind is. Our mind becomes distorted when it's not calm, when it's not mu shin, or no mind, or mind like water. Thoughts are like the ripples, distorting everything. So when you calm your mind, okay, and let it just reflect purely what's outside is inside and what's inside is outside, you become one with what's outside. You are what's outside. If you look around your apartment or your house, or you're sitting on your back porch and there's trees out there, you are the trees. When your mind is mu shin, you are the trees and the trees are you. So doesn't that fit well with native thought about being one with nature and the spirit that moves in all things, and that we are all one, and the beautiful concept of being enlightened, okay? Enlightened. Now when I'm out here, I'll sit on my back porch for like 2 hours and just stare at the mountains. I wonder how many people that live out here do that. I don't know. Even people that are out here in the community get caught up in going to work and coming home, but nothing like the city. Nothing like the city, because you're on a 2-lane highway. You can't help but notice the majesty of what surrounds you. And you have more, you're just naturally more into that kind of mu shin frame of mind, just being in a setting like this. But just remember, and I have to remember, and I constantly have to remind myself, that as I look at my surroundings and as I look at the people that are being reflected back to me, and as I'm looking at all these little places that I'm talking about, they're really me. They're really me. I'm them and they're me. When your mind is calm, when your mind is not interrupted by thoughts, that's what happens. Now, think about that as opposed to being in a big freaking city and trying to get into that mode or that frame of mind to where you start realizing that everything is you and you are everything, okay? You're one with everything. You're not separated at all. The edge of your skin does not separate you from what surrounds you. So then we get to the point of how disrupted you can get when you live in a city, how out of balance you can get, how out of touch that you can get. So I guess I just kind of wanted to convey those thoughts today and kind of update you as to what Thunder was doing. And everybody's getting to know Thunder out here, and Thunder's getting to know everybody else. And these people are kindred people, and they're ranchers, and they're hard workers, and they do believe in guns, yes. Thank God. So when you see all this shit swirling around out there with politics and these idiots that are running for office, all of them are controlled, and I don't care who you think is going to win or who you think is the good guy or who you think should win. They're all kind of cut from the same thing. Okay. You might really, really think that there's going to be some kind of change or that this person's really going to make a difference. Well, has it so far? You be the judge. That's why I don't get into it. It's all, and I get all these things on my email that say, contribute $1 to Hillary, or contribute $1 to Bernie, or we got to get rid of Trump. And I don't know, just from looking at the big picture here, I'm not for any candidate. Like I said, I am not into politics, but I see there's a little bit of an upheaval this year. Donald Duck, Donald Duck Trump, it's causing a little bit of an upheaval. He definitely is not, in my opinion, he's not as part of the pattern, or the and Bernie either, for that matter. They're not as much of a part of the pattern as what has gone before, but there's still, it doesn't matter, because once you get in there, you're controlled, unless you got a way around being controlled by the powers to be, which ain't gonna happen, baby. Not in politics. So anyway, I consider all that stuff kind of like just silly ass shit. Okay. I don't want to think about anything. And that's the truth. That's Mushin. As soon as a thought arises, you look at it. Especially urgent thoughts like, oh, I got to do this, or oh, I got to do that, or oh, I better have this ready, or oh, I better, you gotta, every time a thought like that arises, you just go, no, I don't. No, I don't. I don't have to do anything. I can just sit here and have Mushin, mind like water. Still mind. And I wish that for everybody out there, man. I wish everybody could have that, because with still mind brings control. People think just the opposite. People think that your mind has to be an active mind to have control. No, it's just the opposite. And every great sage and every great medicine man and anybody that has ever, any shamanistic person will tell you that the more you try, the less you get, and the less you try, the more you get. The less you try to grasp onto, the more you get. You just picture what you want. You don't try to grasp onto it. You just visualize it in your mind, and that's what we have to do in this world, people. That's where we've lost control. The real control wasn't that we turned everything over to the powers to be and to the politicians and to the idiots and morons. It's that we lost control on a spiritual level. Can you control things from a spiritual level? Of course you can. If everybody had Mushin, mind like water, if everybody was coming from a high spiritual attitude and a high level of consciousness, you see the big picture, like the hawks that were flying around me today. That was a sign, people. And I always get that sign when I really, really need it from Great Spirit. And it verifies and just tells me straight out. And people are aghast when they see it. It's almost like they don't believe it, and they don't. They don't believe that people can be in tune with the forces of nature and the Wakanyan. And all birds to me are Wakanyan. Especially the majestic ones of like eagles and hawks and even turkey buzzards, man, they got a beautiful wingspan too. And they all have a meaning, and that meaning is that they're high flyers, baby, and they see the big picture. And that's what you got to see. You got to have the eye of a hawk and see the big picture. Mind like water and eye of a hawk, Mind like water and eye of a hawk. That's what you want to have. Okay, people, I'm going to leave it there today because it's getting dark and thunder's going to fade into the background here. So anyway, I'm out of here. Nice talking to you all, people in the Campfire Council. And other kindred people that are like the people in the Campfire Council. And if you're of the state of mind where you want to think about the Campfire Council, there's links below. I'm not on any kind of membership drive or anything, but people have been coming in lately, so that's a good thing. Anyway, I'm out of here. Blessings and love and all that good stuff to you all. Adios.